welcome to Lab to EdLeadership, where we explore career skills, purpose, and leadership for the next generation. I'm Gitika, your host and author of the book, I Don't Know My Career Yet, and That's Okay. A book rooted in helping young people navigate uncertainty and finding their own path with confidence. In today's episode, we're exploring the question, is consistency the real secret to leadership? And I'm really pleased to be joined by Louise Hopkins, School Improvement Executive and a Board Director, who has progressed through every stage of leadership from classroom teacher to executive leadership, building deep experience over time. So, Louise, welcome to the podcast, and it's great to have you here.
Thank you for inviting me, Geetika. I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. And so to begin with, Louise, could you briefly share your journey from teacher to executive head teacher and a board director, and what kept you motivated even when the next step wasn't always clear?
Okay, well, I'll try to keep it concise. It's been quite a long journey, roughly 22 years or so. So it's been quite a long time in the creation. It wasn't planned this way. I didn't actually become a teacher because of any sort of driving moral purpose. I became a teacher because it looked like a really lot of fun, which it was. And my grandmother had been a teacher, and she retired as a deputy head. And so she kind of was a lasting impression and inspiration in me choosing teaching as a career pathway as well. I loved being a class teacher and being able to build relationships with the people in the classes, so the children, the team of teachers, the families. And it was working in a school with really high levels of deprivation that kind of ignited that moral purpose in me, and showed me what a difference excellent teachers can make to children and their future life chances. And really the kind of step from teacher into the next role, and the next role was looking to the next person, the next role, and thinking, I could do that, and I could make a difference. I could make a bigger difference if I did that role. I could, rather than just impact on my class, I could impact on 2 classes as a year group lead, or I could impact on a key stage as a key stage lead, and so on. And so I mean, I actually moved from ECT, so in those days it was called an NQT, so an early career teacher, through to assistant head, deputy head, an interim head, then head teacher, and then executive head teacher, all in the same school.
That's wow.
It wasn't on purpose. Again, it wasn't on purpose. I think when I was sort of choosing my pathway, like I want to go to uni because I want to be a teacher. I think the advice at the time was move on after 2 years. The advice from people like doing the course and stuff, the degree, was kind of go to your first school, do 2 years there, and then move somewhere else. But what I found was that new things were happening, or a new head would arrive, or we went through a process where we federated with another school, and then we became part of a multi-academy trust. And then in my role as executive head teacher, I then had, I was substantive head teacher of 2 schools, and then later on 5, and now I jointly share the responsibility for 10 primary phase schools. And one of those schools is the school I started in. So when I go back there, it feels like going home. It's really, it's a really nice feeling. I think the key takeaway from that question, though, is I've genuinely loved every role I've had. That's been the consistent thing for me, is that even on the days when it feels really tough and I'm not quite sure, am I making the right choice? Is it time to look at something else? I always come back to the fact, but I just love it. I love the job that I do in whatever variation it's been in so far. I've genuinely loved, and the people that I've worked with, I've been really lucky to work with some amazing people.
That's brilliant. And I think that's a really inspiring journey, being in the same school for 22 years and seeing that progression over time. So I think that's commendable.
Oh, well, thank you very much. It's amazing that the person who was my deputy when I was head at the school is now the head teacher at the school, and she is absolutely astonishing. She doesn't know how amazing she is. And it's fabulous to go back and see, because I don't work in one particular school now. I work across all of the schools. And so when I do go back, it's amazing to see there's another thing that's happened that's even more inspirational, and another thing that's been developed, and it's great, and the children are loving it. So it's really, I'm very lucky to have had the journey so far.
Yeah, thank you, Louise. That's wonderful. And thank you for sharing that. So, building on that, can you share a moment in your career when you weren't sure what the next steps would be and how you navigate that uncertainty?
Geetika, I really thought a lot about this question. And I think this particular question could be a whole podcast just by itself. I think within education, there are so many different competing factors and pulls on your time and attention. Everything is priority one, and everything needs to be done yesterday. So there's a lot of that. I think being head teacher was when I felt that the most keenly. There are so many pressures on head teachers. They're expected to have oversight of attainment and achievement, safeguarding staff and children wellbeing, manage complaints, keep up to date with whatever the DFE is released, what Ofsted would like to see when they come to visit. And in terms of how I've navigated that uncertainty, which has come, as I say, many times, the essential for me has been my support system. So if I think about that professionally, and my first headship, that was my absolutely amazing deputy head, who is now a head teacher in her own right, a phenomenal woman. The Senko, who is now our trust-wide SEND lead, again, another strong, amazing woman. And the trust leaders that we were working with by that point. So as head teacher, I was a head teacher in a multi-academy trust school, which meant I had the other trust head teachers to rely on and talk to and connect with. But also I was blessed with working with, and again, I'm surrounded by amazing women. This amazing woman whose role she'd been working in the secondary sector. And when we became an academy, she came to work with us in our primary school to help us to strengthen our systems and, really focus on attainment, etc. And because she'd moved from secondary to primary, she'd been ahead, and then she'd moved into a more advisory role, and so she'd done the job as well. So having people around you who are strong, independent, don't always agree with you, that's quite helpful as well, and who have done the same or similar job are essential. And then reflecting really on how I might manage uncertainty now in my role at the moment, because I don't have a team in the same way that I did as head. I have a counterpart who does a similar role, and then and our director of primaries, and we're a good team, but we're not together as often as you would be if you were in one school. So now I don't assume that I know the answers, and like I've just got to persuade everyone else to follow me, because that was definitely something that I fell into early on as a head. It's okay to let the solution kind of come into focus a bit more gently, and genuinely listen to what other people think, and help that to kind of form the decision. And really, I can't move on without mentioning my ever patient, ever supportive husband, who whatever madcap thing I've decided to go and do, he's always right behind me, supporting me, and basically saying, like, you got it, you go for it. And that's a real thing too. So a support system that might flex and change over time, but there are some key people who are like consistent and help to support me as a leader.
Oh, brilliant, Louise. And I think one of the perfect example of this is if I relate to myself, because you're a support system to me. And and I know like how you pushing me and going through, and here we are right now. So that's another example of, the ones who are listening today.
Oh, amazing.
So how important is the support system around you to pushing you and keep you motivating even when things are uncertain, and enjoy
Absolutely.
the process, enjoy the journey rather than everything rushing through. and then end up having
Absolutely.
a burnout.
Absolutely. I used to say to my leadership teams in school that basically if you want to go and try something and it works, that's your success, and I'm really pleased for you, and that's fantastic. I'll clap you and I'll raise you up. If it falls over and goes wrong, I will come and help you fix it. Like, it's okay to try something, and I think if you've got that safety net there that will
Yeah.
catch you if it goes a bit wrong, that it makes taking risks feel a bit more doable.
Yep, thank you. And I think a lot of young people will relate to this feeling of uncertainty, and there's so much to take away just from one single question and the
Mm.
experience you had and how you manage your journey over time. So thank you, Liz, for sharing that. I have another question. Many students feel pressure to know exactly what career they want early on. So what advice would you give them about exploring opportunities while staying true to their strengths and values?
So when I first read that question, which you kindly did share before today, I felt that I was perhaps a bit fraudulent, really, in that I knew very early on that I wanted to be a teacher. I knew that that was something I wanted to do. I went to university purely because to go to be a teacher, I needed a degree. So that was the only reason I went to university. I didn't have a particular subject that I wanted to do. I just knew I wanted to be a teacher. But then what I kind of reflected on was that really is the answer, which is that if you possibly can, choose something as a starting point that really excites you, that brings you joy, and that you genuinely love. Because then when you go to work, which of course, if you want to buy stuff and earn money, and then you've got to go to work. And if you do choose something that you love, then it will make that a much more enjoyable experience for you, and the really good days will outweigh the ones that are more tough. But you don't have to have a whole plan set out. Like, you can have a first step, kind of, I really like this now, knowing that it might change, it might evolve, it might be a different. I mean, I never in a billion years expected to be doing the role that I'm doing now. I didn't even know it existed when I first became a teacher. My plan really had been go be a teacher. That was it. So everything that's happened after that has been as a sort of a I'm very flexible. I like looking at how things might move and shape and alter, etc. But if you don't have to have a whole plan set out, but get a good grounding behind you in terms of a good stack of qualifications, some experience that might springboard you later on if you choose it. So I think that's probably my advice on that one. So choose something that you love, and if you can, get a nice, like, keep investing in yourself with recognized qualifications.
Brilliant. And I have written a full chapter on the same thing in my book as well, where I have mentioned an emphasis on, taking the first step, because if you never have taken the first step, how you see the journey ahead.
Absolutely.
So having that first step is crucial part of exploring and uh, building your journey. So I feel like the main takeaway from this is building and reflection are part of building your own journey, as
Mm.
everyone have their own different journeys.
Absolutely. And some of the things that I've chosen to do because I enjoyed them and they were interesting might send someone running in the opposite direction, in the same way that some of the choices that they might have made would make me think, I don't want any part of that. So it has to be very personal to what's driving you, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, thank you, Lois. And you have progressed steadily within the same trust in school. So, how did you make decisions at every stage? And could you give an example of where consistency really helped you grow?
Okay, so the decision to go for promotion and next steps was driven by making I wanted to make a positive impact on the children and families that I served. I could see that there were things that I would have done differently, and I thought they would have a better impact. And so, in order to have that authority and voice, I needed to kind of push myself to that next opportunity. And when opportunities were advertised, I would the phrase I would use is throw my hat in the ring. So I kind of let by putting in an application to the role, even if I didn't get that role, it meant that I had let the leadership team of the school or the trust know that this was something I was interested in, because there were opportunities for growth in all kinds of different directions. I watched other people as well join my school. So we've already mentioned I'd been in the school from a brand new teacher over time. So I was very emotionally invested in my school. So when people arrived they were new to the school but into a leadership position, they didn't really know the families and communities as well. They couldn't do. They hadn't been around long enough, but they didn't know them well enough to make decisions which were then negative. The outcome of some decisions they made were not very good, and I wanted to fix that, and I didn't want my school to have to keep fixing stuff that people wanted just to try out. I wanted us to be able to move on and progress and be successful. I also the journey of the school I was in was quite an interesting one. Again, probably something for another day, but I watched a number of head teachers in quite quick succession join the school and then go again. And then, I learned a lot from each of them. Some of them I really learned what not to do, and I've just definitely got a list of don't ever do that. And then others really became very, very influential and very, their advice was so strong I can still hear them in my ear now when I make decisions today. In terms of consistency, I think it's consistency and commitment to, at the time it was the school, and then later on now it's the trust. I'm wholly committed to the success of my trust, and I show up every day with that as my intention. I want to do things positively. I want to make decisions that will positively impact on our staff. I want to remove, things from their to-do list that are boring and take up loads of time and don't do any good. I really want to listen to our people and best align with what our people are saying, what the government wants us to do, and try to find a pathway through that fits our schools. So it is for me, it's been a showing up every day for my people. That's really it. In a nutshell, that's it at the very foundation of it.
And that's a great example of how consistency can shape growth, because you've seen people who keep moving from one school to another, and that works for them. And some people just want to stay within the same trust and have seen changes over time and have seen the growth from where the trust was a few years down the line and where they are now. So, and that's what the power of consistency is, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Wonderful. So, from classroom teacher to system level leader, what lessons did you learn about leadership and impact that young people can start applying now, even in small ways?
Okay, so I have 4. I'm going to just try and go for them like bullet points for this one. So
Okay.
the first is take a measured, balanced approach. Focus on making improvements at a manageable rate. That's much more effective than trying to do a load of stuff all at once. Like, you've got time. There's lots of time. The second is repeat key messages a lot. That's really the end of that sentence. So whatever role you're in, whatever it is that you're doing right now, even if the repeating the key messages is to yourself, do that a lot, because what you keep repeating will eventually sink in and become part of the culture and everyday vernacular, really, within your organization. People around you can help you if you're clear and honest with them about what you need. People generally want to help other people. Most human beings are fairly decent, and most people do want to help other people. And you lose 100% of the races that you're not in. So it's worth having a go, even if it means you just learn from the experience, and that's the takeaway. But it's definitely worth having a go. Apply for the job that is probably a bit beyond your reach. Apply for the top university in the country if that's where you want to go. Like, take the gamble and put your hat in the ring for that.
No, brilliant. And I think that's the, powerful way of when we look at the leadership and the steps we can do, which is in our control. So, and eventually the success will come to you. And again, coming back to the same thing, if you never even applied to a big university, the example you've given, how do you know that you get chance to get into it? So
Exactly.
yeah, and the key message is like, because if it's not clear to you, how you can make it clear to others who you're serving for. So that's really, I would say, really good lessons. So thank you, Liz. And many people assume a straight path is easier than the non-linear one. So what challenges did you face along the way? And you're the perfect example of, I would say, a straight path, but you have seen a progression over time. So how did you overcome them?
So I was going to say, actually, from the outside, and when we first spoke about this, my career does look basically a straight line, like it's from that to that to that to that to that to that. But the day-to-day reality of working within my trust has involved, in recent years, certainly ever increasing levels of reflection, flexibility, and keeping going, even when things feel like there's a sudden curveball or there's a seemingly impossible situation in front of you. I mean, I've made more mistakes than I care to recall, but there are, and I'm usually quite good at kind of, being quite resilient and moving on quite quickly from that. But there are a couple that have been quite, they still sting when I think about them. The kind of the big ones you think, oh my goodness, what was I thinking? Those kinds of ones. And so for those stingers, I've had to work to fix the mistake where it was possible. If it hasn't been possible, then I've had to dig really deep, really to learn from it so I don't repeat it, and make sure that my professional behaviour afterwards shows my colleagues that I've recognised and I own the mistake, and they can rely on me to be a better leader afterwards. So to really reflect on, like, what actually went wrong there? What was the thing that happened? What was the driving force? Why did I go that way and not that way? And really use that experience for really good advice to someone else later on down the line. If they're faced with the same situation, I can say, look, I've done this, don't do that, do this.
Yeah.
Or that I can essentially add it to my experience and just be a better leader moving on. But it's definitely keep going to work, even if you feel like, oh my gosh, I don't even want to be in this room today. Like it was awful yesterday. I don't want to be here today. Just keep showing up for your people and really reflect on what could I have done differently that would have made the situation either not arise at all or would have resolved it in a much better way.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the biggest takeaway from this question and the experience you have shared, like every path has obstacles, but resilience and reflection are the key. So,
Mm-hmm.
thank you, Louise. And for the students and young professionals who are just starting out, so what matters more? Do they try many different experiences or going deep in one area? And can you just give an example? I know you've given some example, but could you give more examples from your own journey?
So I think it depends on the person, really. I mean, if like me, quite early on that you want to follow a particular path. I knew I wanted to be a teacher, then follow that path. Like, start there because you've already got you've got a bit of an idea that I would like to do that. If you're not yet clear, I mean, my husband is in his 50s and he's just about now finding out really that what he'd want to be. I'd suggest spending some time exploring your options and then trying out the different experiences. That would be a better option, because you can you can start in an opportunity that arises and you can just go for it, because you're not sure if you want to do that forever or not, but it's an opportunity that's arisen and you can test it out. I think really being mindful, though, in both scenarios, if it doesn't feel right for you, then move on, chalk it up to experience, learn from it. Don't get stuck doing something that you actively dislike. That's, if you actively you don't get any joy at all from that experience, that would suggest that that's not your thing, and it might be worth looking at a different experience. So yeah, it depends on your starting point. I think, I mean, when you speak to people who are later on in their lives, it's quite rare, really, to find people who have just done one thing all the whole time. There's normally either a jump from different career paths to different, so one thing to a different, completely different, Or for example, within teaching, often it's if they remain a teacher, they've been in different schools. Or like for myself, I mean, although it was one school from ECT to executive head, in reality, by the time I was executive head, it had been called 3 different names and had been a junior school and then a primary school, and then it was a federated with a secondary, and then it was an academy trust. So it had been different. So I suppose it's just be prepared. Like whatever you choose, you're likely to get different experiences anyway. So again, just choose that first step.
And I think from your experience, I can see like, both paths can work, but what matters is learning and growing along the way.
That's right. Absolutely. If I was a head now, I would be a very different head now to the kind of head teacher I had been when I was a head teacher, because I've continued to learn and develop and grow. So absolutely.
Yeah, thank you, Liz. I have another question. So across schools, learners, and teams, what common qualities do you see in people who create meaningful impact, regardless of the path they take?
So the first thing is, I think that I don't think these are really in order, but the first thing to mention is that they're well organised. So there's someone who knows like where they're supposed to be, what they're supposed to be wearing, that they, I don't know, you're having a meeting with them today and they've arrived having thought about the meeting, having made some notes before they come, that they are respectful of time. That's a real bugbear of mine, that if you I'm absolutely fine if we're meant to be meeting, let's say it's case in point, you're meant to be meeting at 10 and the person says, can we shift it by 15 minutes? Absolutely fine, not a problem at all, because they've been respectful of my time by saying, look, I've got a thing, I just need 15 more minutes, and that's absolutely fine. If a staff meeting is due to start at 3:30, then everyone should be there by 3:30. And if they're there rocking up at 3:45, I find that really disrespectful. But also they are respectful of their own time, in that they manage their time well, so they don't linger on one thing for ages and ages and ages. They prioritize the stuff that needs to happen and they get it done in the time they need to do it. And then lastly, that they're self-driven. So they don't have to be an expert at all by any means, but they see something that needs doing and then they go and do it. Or they think to themselves, I don't know, it would be part of my role, I would need to know about, I don't know, responsive teaching. So they go and find out about responsive teaching and then they bring that back themselves, like that kind of self-drive. Those people tend to be the ones that make a real impact, make a difference. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And success isn't just about following a fixed route. It's all about values, curiosity, and the efforts you make. And as always, time is money. So if we value the time and the examples you have given, and it just add on extra respect, both sides.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, if you are, so for example, if I know I'm meeting at, let's say 10, if I know I'm meeting somebody at 10, I'm normally by about 10:15, I'm normally preparing for that meeting. So I'm making sure that the link works, or I don't know, that I've got a drink on hand, or that, whatever is the thing, I've brought up the notes ready. So I'm ready for that meeting. It's not like the 10 o'clock arrives and then I get ready for the meeting. So if the person is 15 minutes late, I've already started 15 minutes before the session started. So now I'm waiting half an hour and so it goes. So yeah, being respectful of time.
Yeah, and that's a good advice to young people as well, because they're trying to do everything at once. So prioritizing and value the time for others and yourself, just help them having a right balance and give
Yeah.
them a satisfaction. So thank you, Lewis. And just one last question. So looking back, what advice would you give your younger self about navigating an uncertain career path? And how can young people apply that advice today?
Okay, so that you don't need to know it all now, that you don't have to choose at 16 or 18 what you're going to be doing when you're 40. You can just choose for now. what's important right this second is unlikely to be as important in 10, 15, 20 years. Like your priorities will change. So just keep that balanced in your mind. Don't forget to keep investing in your own knowledge and learning along the way. Don't feel that you do A levels after you need to get your BA and then that's it. Like keep on investing in yourself, because that, like, no one can take that from you. That's investment in your own self that you then own, and it will arm you and help to continually challenge and develop you over time. And don't think that the last one, I think, is probably the most important. And I think I'm usually quite a good example of this, which is don't forget to balance. So no one ever got to the end of their life and thought, oh, I wish I'd worked a bit more.
Yes.
Don't forget to live the rest of your life too. So keep it in a balance. It's really important, but it's not the most important thing.
Yeah, oh, wonderful, Louise. And I think the main takeaway is it's okay not to know everything yet. And I love it. So decisions, experiences, and reflection gradually shape your path. So that's the
Absolutely.
biggest takeaway from this session. So thank you, Liz. I really enjoyed the conversation today. It was, good to know so many different perspectives, the different experiences and the lessons you had, and you've shared so openly so the people can learn and not repeating those mistakes and just grow from that and what they can do, like in best of their capacity. So thank you, Louise. That was really insightful conversation. And I think the one key takeaway is that leadership isn't just rushing or changing direction uh,
Absolutely.
constantly, but it's all about growing with purpose over time.
That's right.
So
Thank you so much for having me as well, Geetika. It's been a really amazing opportunity, and it's nice to reflect back actually and think actually this has been a bit of a journey. It's gone very fast, like it's 20 odd years, but it felt quick.
no, it's wonderful. And I think I'm inspired from this conversation. And I think if I'm inspired, and I think so many people will inspired from this as well, who actually listen to this conversation deeply and can get insights and bring it into your own journey. And I think
Well,
it can
thank you.
make you
Thanks
and
very much.
shape you a completely different person. So thank you,
Mhm.
Liz, for that. So for anyone listening today and who feels unsure about their path, this is your reminder that you don't have to know everything figured out yet. So progress happens step by step. So enjoy your journey, enjoy your process. And if you think who could be benefit from this episode, please feel free to share this episode. So thank you. And if you enjoyed the episode, so don't forget to follow Lab to Ed Leadership and share with someone, as I said before, who might need to hear this. So see you in the next episode. Thank you. Thank you, Lois.
Thank you.